Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today we are talking league winners. These are my guys for the 2023 fantasy football season. I got 5 players for you. We'll go in the order of which they are being drafted, but I believe I have 2 running backs and 3 wide receivers, anywhere from rounds 1 all the way to round, I think 9 is our last guy. Again, these are players that I've talked about before, so the reasoning and the explanation for those of you guys who watched every single video will be very similar, but we'll have a few extra little tidbits to really put things over the top. But it's time to put like the sales jacket on. Maybe not the sleazy salesman, but this is the product you already want, and I'm just going to make sure that you absolutely know you need to have these guys. If you guys do enjoy today's video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel as well. Would really, really appreciate it. We don't have too many more videos left. This will be the last time I talk about all 5 of these guys because a few of them I've talked about a ton, but I really want to settle things in here, and then we'll have a few more videos before we start getting to our in-season type of content later on next week and into obviously post-Labor Day. But let's get into these 5 players. All right, starting at the running back position, going in the first round right now, but the back half of the first round, it is Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. He's currently being drafted as the running back 5, going with the 10th pick in the first round. He was the RB5 in 2022, so he's being drafted as the same back as he was last season, and he will not be that same back. He is going to be much, much better, already coming off a very good season. He had 302 rushing attempts. Only 2 other running backs were in the 300 club. That was Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry. But man, with that opportunity and that volume that Chubb had, he was very efficient. He averaged 5 yards per carry, so very efficient there. And he also seeded 25 red zone rushing attempts and 123 total carries to Kareem Hunt. I think that goes a little bit overlooked. A lot of people just pay attention to the receiving role that Hunt had, but they gave him the ball in the red zone a fair bit too. And I think Chubb is set to take over the majority of those carries. Jerome Ford is expected to kind of be plugged in that change of pace role, but he's been missing time in camp with an injury as well. And Chubb has proved capable as a pass catcher. He posted 27 receptions for 240 yards last season, so very good there. Something he's more than capable of taking over on. And I think what his role really reminds me of is Josh Jacobs last season, because this is a player that is very efficient with his opportunities. He's 7th last year in breakaway run rate, so created explosive plays, top 12 in broken tackle rate. He was also at 18.2%, so he's breaking tackles, creating big plays, very efficient, much like what Josh Jacobs did last season. And Deshaun Watson enters the offense. And I've been talking about this Cleveland Browns team all offseason, that I'm very high on them and what they're capable of doing. But here's the deal. The situation for this team really comes down to, for Chubb, I think either way this thing goes, whether Deshaun Watson gets back to the guy we expect him to be or he doesn't, I don't think that's a problem for Chubb, because if he isn't, Chubb's going to have plenty of volume. He's still going to be able to score touchdowns, and he's potentially going to have even more volume with the departure of Hunt. But if this offense is good and takes a step forward like I expect them to do, I think this is going to be a team that's going to give him opportunities to score a ton of touchdowns, be able to reach that like 20 touchdown club, I think is in the cards for this guy. They haven't been in love with the passing offense since Deshaun Watson has been working out in training camp. It doesn't seem to like really be clicking right now. So it could lead to Chubb seeing a lot of volume and leaning on him, at least in the early parts of the season too. This is a must draft guy. This is a hero RB that I absolutely love. So be sure if you're in that middle to back half of the first round of your draft, you are drafting Nick Chubb as the guy to anchor your team this season. In round 2, I'm always looking towards wide receiver, and that guy for me, my favorite wide receiver this season, is Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. He's currently going as a wide receiver 9 in the middle parts of the second round, but last season he finished as the wide receiver 8, so his fantasy finish was even better than what his ADP currently is, and I see no reason why he can't best his ADP or his finish from last season and his current ADP right now. He's finished currently my wide receiver 6, coming off a season with a ton of volume. He was 7th in targets, 5th in receptions with 106, and he was also a yards after the catch monster, over 5 yards per reception after the catch that he averaged, and his target rate was insane, 32.3% target rate, which was the 3rd highest in the league. Here's the deal with Amon-Ra heading into this season. His 6 touchdowns last year ranked 19th, so he didn't score nearly enough to reach this upper echelon, and I think that changes. Jamal Williams leaves. He leaves 17 touchdowns up for grabs. Can a guy like David Montgomery take some of those, take a majority of those scores? Yes, but can David Montgomery take all of these scores? I'm not so sure. This is an offensive line that is, of course, really, really good. And it's not just Jamal Williams being great. The reason why he scored this many touchdowns. This line can really push the pile and help them convert in those short yardage situations. But what I like here is the opportunity for Amon-Ra as an excellent guy after the catch, like we mentioned, to potentially receive some rushing volume like we've seen in seasons past. But not only that, this is a guy who was 4th in receptions and 5th in targets in the red zone, so there was still good volume for him in this area of the field. I think positive touchdown regression is coming here, so I expect him to get into the double-digit touchdown area, especially when you look at the fact that the competition for targets in this offense is very scarce. Jameson Williams is going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. He's already dealing with an injury in training camp that might set him back as well. 33-year-old Marvin Jones as the wide receiver 3 is someone I'm not really expecting to limit his target share. Rookie Sam Laporta, the tight end position for rookies, has not always been very productive. Then we have Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond, 2 middling to below average talents that, again, aren't going to take targets away from Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you look at how things ended last season. After TJ Hawkinson left, he actually led the NFL in red zone targets and receptions. He also was on pace for 131 receptions, which would have been first at the position. Justin Jefferson had 128 receptions last season. The pace that Amon-Ra had after TJ Hawkinson left was even better. So I think the receiving volume stays high. He's going to post I think he's going to best his 106 receptions from last season, be somewhere in that 110 to 125 range. And then as well, I expect the touchdowns to be there at a higher level. Year 3 for Amon-Ra, we see another level. And this is a guy that has the capabilities with this offense that's a top 5 scoring offense in the league last season to be the wide receiver 1 overall. That is in the cards when you look at the profile and the opportunity for Amon-Ra. So you cannot miss out on him this year. We go to another wide receiver in Mike Williams. His ADP is actually coming back a little bit. He's now at the wide receiver 29 usually, and now looking to more in the 7th round, early parts of the 7th round. He finished as the wide receiver 31 in 2022. He was the wide receiver 24 in fantasy points per game. What I am so excited about for this Chargers offense, I'm a fan of the team, obviously wearing the t-shirt right now, but for anyone that isn't, this is going to be an exciting team to watch this year because they made this change with Kellen Moore taking over as the offensive coordinator. Justin Herbert is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. The arm talent and the arm strength is off the charts. But he averages 7 yards in average depth of target, which was 36th amongst 41 qualified quarterbacks last year. Completely asinine for a guy of this talent to be only pushing the ball downfield 7 yards per pass. Constant talk of the offseason is this team needs to be more explosive. They need to be making more plays downfield. And the complaint was they were too complacent on first down when it came to running the football. When it came to throwing the football, this was a team that checked the ball down far too often. They were ranked 20th in explosive play rate on early downs. The talk of training camp has been this offensive line has been really excited to be able to be pushing forward instead of dropping back into protection so often. I think they're going to be run blocking at a much better level, which is going to alleviate a lot of what Justin Herbert had to deal with last season, where if the run game is effective, you're going to open up explosive plays in the pass game. And this is exactly what Mike Williams' game is all about. Before Joe Lombardi arrived a couple of years ago, this was a guy who was top 5 in yards per reception. He was top 5 in average depth of target. He was number 1 in both of these categories in, I believe, the 2020 season, I think it was. And this is a player that's proven in years past to be able to be a top 10 guy. He was a top 10 receiver in fantasy football just 2 seasons ago. So this is the guy that's one of the best downfield and contested catch options in the entire league. I truly believe that. He's a player that obviously puts his body in harm's way and can run into injury concerns. But I mean, this is absolutely baked into his ADP as the wide receiver 29 right now. So not only does this offense fit Williams' profile and kind of put him in the best position to be successful, but they're also looking to put him in better situations and advantageous matchups and moving him around on the field. Because this is, in my mind, I think this is going to be their number 1 guy from a receiving standpoint. So they're looking to move him into the slot. They're kind of stacking him and forcing slot defenders to be able to guard him and guys that put him in, again, more advantageous matchups to win those matchups. And the rookie Quentin Johnston has been really inconsistent at camp. The drops have been an issue. Josh Palmer stuck out, I think, a little bit more. So I think Palmer might be the guy to start. And I do think that'll be important when it comes to Williams by far being the best downfield threat for this team, because Palmer was really originally drafted to kind of potentially take over for Keenan Allen in a slot role. We know Keenan Allen as that slot technician that really isn't known for spreading defenses out downfield. Williams is a huge beneficiary of this offensive change, maybe the biggest outside of Justin Herbert, obviously, and I'm really excited about what he can do as a very explosive weapon, and not only with his size and ability to be a contested catch guy, to score plenty of touchdowns too. So you cannot be passing on him. I'm reaching for him early in the sixth round. Right now he's going in the early seventh round, so make sure you don't miss out on him and be drafting Mike Williams this year. Okay, my last chance to talk about this guy. This is my favorite running back right now in fantasy football. He is the perfect hero RB strategy. We're taking this guy in the seventh round. James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. He's currently going as the running back 31. Last season was the running back 45. And painting the picture for James Cook, for me to have a top 15 season as a running back, that's where I have him right now in my rankings. I think he's my RB 15 or 16, is receiving opportunity. We see Nyheim Hines leave. We see Devin Singletary leave. And this Bills team was top 12 at running back target rate, almost 17%. 72 receptions went to their running backs. And when running backs post 50-plus receptions, their average fantasy finish is the RB 11 in fantasy points per game in PPR formats. Cook posted 33 targets, 21 receptions last year. But again, we talk about the guys that leave. And when he was on the field, he had a 28.2% target rate, Cook had, which was only bested by Austin Eckler, the best receiving back in football, and DeAndre Swift. So this is an opportunity here where I easily see him being able to post 50-plus receptions, because Damian Harris has never posted 20 receptions in his career. We have Latavius Murray heading into his age 33 season. He's going to post plenty of receptions in this offense because the receiving options, other than what's changed in the departures in the receiving room of the running back spot, have not changed. We still have Gabe Davis. We lose Isaiah McKenzie. Your Cole Beasley that came into the end of the year, where they're asking Khalil Shakur to step into that wide receiver 3 role. Dalton Kincaid could potentially be a guy that steps in, but I don't think that takes away from the opportunity at the running back position. And then Cook is not only a fantastic pass catcher, he also was one of the most efficient backs in football. He averaged 5.7 yards per carry. He had a 12.1% breakaway run rate, which was the best in the NFL last season. He was 9th in stuff rate, which is awesome to see, because the concern is, can he score touchdowns? Will Damian Harris take away all of his touchdowns? Will he be a guy that can't reach, the upper echelon to be able to finish as a top 12 guy? Well, he was 9th in stuff rate last year, which was sandwiched right in between A.J. Dillon and James Conner, two guys that are profiled as some of the best backs when it comes to scoring touchdowns and getting touchdown opportunities inside the 5 and being able to convert them. He's also 15th in broken tackle rate. So despite the fact that you think this is a receiving back who might lack a little bit of size, he breaks tackles, he avoids losing yardage, he pushes the pile, creates positive opportunities, and in short yardage, he could be that guy. Again, the biggest obstacle is scoring touchdowns. I still see a chance to do that, and this is a very explosive player. The entire recipe is here for this guy in a really good offense. So even if he doesn't get all the touchdown opportunities, this team's going to be scoring plenty of touchdowns where he'll still be able to put up decent numbers there. So I love James Cook. The hero RB strategy is the way I'm going this year. So I'm getting a guy like Nick Chubb, and then I'm taking a guy like James Cook, and I feel so set at the running back position to be able to crush those other positions on my fantasy team. And finally, my last guy. Usually we go a lot off of stats, numbers, and here's what these numbers look so good underneath to be able to project a guy to have a great season. This guy is very different for me, but I still feel really good about him. Jihad Dotson of the Washington Commanders. He's going as the wide receiver 38 in the middle to late part of the 8th round. He was the wide receiver 43 in 2022, but was the wide receiver 30 in fantasy points per game. So it wasn't too bad there, despite, coming into a bit of a secondary, tertiary role in this Commanders offense in his rookie season. And what I like is being able to cash in on the unknown with the coordinator change. I've talked about this in previous videos. When you're looking to find upside, you look at a place where there's a coordinator change or a player changes teams. Here we have a coordinator change that could really benefit the passing offense. Washington ranked 23rd in pass rate last season. They were an anemic offense. Running the ball with Brian Robinson for like 3.5 yards a carry was really tough to watch. Now they bring Bieniemy in, and his Chiefs team was 8th in pass rate last season. Obviously, Bieniemy wasn't the primary play caller for this offense, but I do expect to see a near 10% increase in pass rate this season. So This is also a team that will probably be in a lot of passing game scripts too, because they're in a very difficult division, a tough schedule where I don't expect them to have a winning season either. So more passing volume will be great for Dotson. And despite missing some time with injury, he was on pace to be 9th in end zone targets last year. He was a great end zone option for this team. He scored a good amount of touchdowns despite, a limited target share and a limited role, and obviously missing time as well. And once we got to the tail end of the season, he was really, really good. He was the wide receiver 11 in fantasy points per game in the final 6 weeks, so he's really productive to close out the season. And he's got this great mix of, he scored those touchdowns like we talked about. He was also had the 5th highest ADOT amongst receivers with 50-plus targets, so he can create explosive plays too. And Howell was a guy in college that was consistently top 15 in deep ball pass attempts at UNC, and he had 36 deep ball touchdowns in his 3 seasons at UNC, so averaged 12 touchdowns of 20-plus yards per season. So love to see that at the college level. Hopefully that can translate for us, and with Bieniemy being able to be a much better scheme fit for this offense. And just want to share this tweet from Matt Harmon. If any of you guys pay attention to reception perception, great way to look at players and just basically what their skill level is able to do to create separation. He had an over 80% success rate versus zone coverage, and he was a player that I was concerned about what he could do against press coverage. Was really good, 87th percentile in success rate against press, which was crazy good. And we talked about the player that he's able to be in the end zone and downfield. Well, it's because he was top 10 in contested catch rate. This is a really, really talented player, and who was really successful, like this says from Matt Harmon, near elite success rates on vertical routes in combination with some of the best scores on curls and comebacks. So everything this guy did, he created separation, and that's going to be very advantageous for, a first-year starter in Sam Howell and an offense that should be throwing the ball a lot more. I really like Dotson. His ADP has me very excited about him as a player that I see very little risk in with his talent level, and because of that talent level, he could really explode and have an incredibly good season for you. So do not miss out on this guy in the middle parts of the 8th round. All right, those are my league winners, 5 of them for you guys this fantasy football season. Crazy excited about these players, so do not miss out at them at their ADP, and I'm definitely willing to reach on them as well. If you guys enjoyed today's video, would really, really appreciate it if you let me know by dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, put those post notifications on, and we will have for you later this week 5 players that if you draft them, you'll be donating your league fee. I love doing this last year. We're bringing it back this year. So players going similar to these guys, players that are going to be impactful in terms of their draft position, that could be the reason you lose your fantasy league this season. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.